All right. It is January 9th, 2024. Got to get used to saying that 2024. Welcome to another episode of Heart Center Marketing. We are here to talk about all kinds of things to help you grow the business in a heart centered way, in a place where you don't have to push anybody to do anything. It's all about being real to other humans and helping them do what they want to do in their lives to impact their corner of the world. And you can do that with your superpowers. And I'm going to show you, we're talking about all kinds of different ways that I've been doing this over the last, decade, trying to be really cool with other people and giving them marketing advice, stuff that aligns with them. And I talk about this every day. Every single day, I'm giving advice or answering questions or just talking about how do you get your message into the world? How do you get your genius into the world without being that pushy salesperson? Uh, and what I want to talk about today is about the reasons, one of the top three reasons why your product or your service may not be selling. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why, but I'm going to focus in on some of the reasons why I believe that there could be a challenge here with your product. So let me see. I think my guest just arrived. Let me see here. Uh, if I can get. Oh, you know what? I didn't set up. This is why I need to do all this stuff beforehand. I think this is gonna. Let me just see here. Yeah, all the stuff is totally messed up here. So it looks like I'm going to be flying solo. So I can't bring. Let me just see here. Let's see here. Hey, Kate, nice to see you. Let's change this up. Hey, Lorna.
Hello.
Hey, you gotta give me a second here to change things up. I can't do this. I can't change to the right profile now that I'm live. So give me
I
one
could
second.
I could just be a version of Eddie.
Yeah.
I
Give me a second.
yeah. I wasn't sure what link to use.
There we go. Link is always the
So
same. It's always the same. It should be
I
in your calendar. Anywho,
yeah.
okay.
Anyway, we'll get into that later.
Um, yeah. So now I'm off track here. Like I just lost my train of thought here. Um,
We're
all right.
talking about the reasons that courses don't sell or
Yes.
products don't sell. There's three
Yeah.
reasons.
So I was looking at get some notes here, and we were talking about where I was just jotting some things down to talk about some things in Atlas, and so that kind of gave me some ideas here. And these are not my ideas; these are from the notes that I have taken, and these are three, and then we can dive into them. One is that we haven't addressed the need. I'm just reading from my notes here, and we haven't addressed the need or desire that our dream clients, the desire of our dream clients, and proven that our product is more valuable than the money that they trade for it. I think that's a huge one. So I'll read that again. We haven't addressed the need or desire of our dream clients and proven that our product is more valuable than the money they trade for it. Number two is the audience doesn't have the money or time or desire for the product. Kind of relates to number one, but probably the piece of there is that they don't have the money. If they can't afford it, they don't have the time to understand your pitch or simply don't want it, your product won't sell. And I find a lot of people fall into this category. They go through all of the dream client stuff or the market research and all these things. They know the language and people saying they want it, but then it's like, okay, great. So how much are you charging for it? Well, my market doesn't have any money. That's a problem. So number
Been
number
there.
three Number three is really simple. Number three is that they are not ready now. And that's really it. They're not ready now. And this goes back to, if you remember, if anybody's watching this for a little while, you know that one of my three pillars, the third pillar, is respecting their timeline. So that's where number three comes in. And then there's a bonus. I won't talk about the bonus yet, but those are the three. So what are your thoughts on any one of those? Do you want to dive into? And I won't do any fancy camera switching here today because that's all the stuff's going to be messed up with the names. So this is going to be just one of those direct to camera thingies, and that's it. So I'm not going to win any Oscars or Academy Awards today for any camera switching.
Oh, you just never know because this is like really doing different, Joey Ragona. You never know. What would I dive into? I mean, the one that resonates the most for me is the time and money. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and and I want to preface this by saying that the majority of people will make time and find money if it's
Mm-hmm.
important to them enough and that they see the value.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to preface what I'm going to say. And there are still markets where there isn't money
Mm-hmm.
or time, and sometimes both. For me, it was the caregiver space.
Mm-hmm.
That like was my biggest learning experience because I still believe I have something that is valuable for them,
Mm-hmm.
and it just needs a different way to be able for them to have that, and for me to be able to. I've even had some like thoughts lately of exactly whose need was I trying to meet. That's a whole different likely live stream, but whose need was I trying to meet with what I was wanting to deliver to them? Was it my need or their need? And that's anyway. But when I started it, that whole path, I was looking at doing speaking engagements and trainings and workshops. That's what I wanted to do, and I worked really hard. I believe I worked really hard. Could I have worked harder? Absolutely. Looking back, but I put in a lot of effort for 4 years of what was at least 4 years because it's still on a little bit, but um, of philanthropic work is what I call it, because there's just some realities to the situation of um, eh, caregivers. There's just no funding for them. So the programs, like it's really dependent on people who can either hire you as a speaker or um, who can bring you in for workshops. But why that gets tricky with the time and money piece is that generally that whole industry right now is run through nonprofits. Um, and the U.S. I think is a little bit more open because of the healthcare system, but they're not. Caregivers aren't patients, so they don't fit in the right round hole.
Yeah.
Um,
So I want to
but
bring this
the
back to like
okay,
a bigger.
but
I don't
I'll,
want. Let's not dive deep into like one thing. I just want to bring it to the
no.
surface for everybody
So
listening.
yeah, what it was when somebody said, "What did I need?" And
Right. So
could I
you needed
give
to.
anything? I
But I mean,
didn't.
I
I
want to
didn't
touch on that though,
have
Lorna.
the time. I had the time, and I didn't have the time or money, and I was asking people to do the same thing. So I
Mm.
think it's just to like I was asking people to give time and money when that's not like I didn't have it as a caregiver, and most
Ah.
don't. So that was a like a demarcation in Brendan Burchard's language. That was a moment of like, okay, where do I go with this? But I just wanted to say that because I think there are markets where it really is true that they don't have the time or money for whatever reason it is.
Yeah.
And to respect that, but also to know that those are the two most common objections to buying something. So you might get that objection, but there is another reason for it. There's something different there. There's two pieces to the time and money part.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and to your point, like just to, I mean, we go everywhere with this call, but you know, I like the fact that you brought up who were you doing it for? What was the passion for
Yeah.
them? Or were you doing it for them? And I think that, I mean, this is a good thing to understand is that at least my belief is we have to have a passion for the thing that we're doing, and and the good part about being an entrepreneur is that we have a lot of ideas. That's also a kryptonite. a major kryptonite. But when we find a market like that, in your case, the caregivers, and you have this passion because maybe you were doing it for you, which is amazing. Like you just want to feel good. You're doing it for them, but you're also, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but maybe for me, what I do, I'm blessed to be doing for entrepreneurs and saving their lives and all these other things, and I feel freaking awesome. I love it. It gets me up in the morning. My batteries are charged all day. So I'm doing it for me, but I'm also doing it for them. And and so what I'm trying to say is that when you have this passion for something and the market doesn't have the money, then we can tap into another area of our genius to build the business so that we can fund and give to that other market that doesn't have the money as a passion project, as something that, there's just no money in it. I'm not going to pursue it for that. I'm going to pursue it because I love it so much. But then we have to switch our focus into building the business on another side of our genius.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I say I did it for me, I mean, I realized that it was likely to help heal me some more.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, when I say I did it for me, it was because I had this incredible knowledge of knowing how I can help them because it helped me and it helped, I don't know how many people in waiting rooms for the six
Mm.
years that we were in waiting rooms. Like what I did helped people.
Mm.
And but it was the twist. And I've been going through some marketing pieces at the time,
Mm.
but I didn't always listen. It was the twist of, was I giving them what they wanted to start with? And the other part is, even when you go into, like, if you take in that, give them what they, sell them what they want and give them what they need,
Mm-hmm.
was what I felt they needed really what they needed
Yeah.
in the way that I was delivering it. So there was a lot of marketing pieces to it. But I think even if I got all that right,
Yeah.
that we're still dealing with a market that doesn't have the time or the money. I mean, people are up like it's the thing of like I don't know what I'm going to do. Like it's 11:30 at night and I've got 3 loads of laundry to do and they have to be done before morning. It's you can't be asking people to spend like an hour a week on a recorded training. Like
Yeah.
what
Yeah. For
was
sure.
I thinking? So lots of lessons there, but
Yeah.
and opportunities to still serve in a different way.
Yeah.
Um,
Because
but
if you build, even if you're looking at that and they don't have the money or the time or whatever, there's so many different ways. Like there's so many areas where we can expand if we build the business the right way, we get our time and freedom back, we have a healthy business, we have a great life for ourselves, all of that stuff. And then it's like, well, because I don't know about you, but I can't not do anything. I'm just not that person where I sit around like the Christmas holidays. As much as I love it and stuff, it really messes me up because there's just like, what am I gonna do? Like, how am I? Like, I'm not. I can't sit around for all these days and just do nothing. Even and I say that in the most respectful way. I love my family. I love being there, but there's just I just need to be in momentum all the time. I need to be doing something. So I, if my business was at the levels of like, I just don't need any more money, I don't know what, doesn't matter to me, then I would spend all of that time helping people in any way. Just like even today with on Academy, they said you don't even know the impact of what you're doing. Like you're doing this one
yeah.
little thing, you have no idea of the ripple effect that you do. So that's for you and for anybody listening that you might just be, well, I'm just going to go into a chat rooms and just chat with some people and help them out and just have compassion for them or whatever that is because your business is healthy, you know.
Well, and I think you can do that in different ways because likely when you put that, you had a different perspective, maybe a different perspective in mind than my example.
Mm.
Because there are people like in a market where they do buy, but they still don't have time and money,
Yeah.
and that's the one of the hardest decisions for the heart centered people to say
In
this
every
person
case.
really needs help. Well, and I was on like on a Zoom call on Sunday with somebody and in that was just like that. Like I spent, she said I was awake all night trying to go back and forth with things. And then they were mad at me at the end. I mean, a different, like, not that doesn't happen all the time, but like the resentment that was starting to build up because she was giving so much and not only not being appreciated, but not being paid.
Mm,
And like where is that balance for people? And it is
yeah.
so hard to say no when they can't pay. But if we don't have the financial stability ourselves,
Right.
where do we give and I think it's a patient path, and it has been for me because I've done lots of that. Like I'm
Hmm.
not here being a preacher because I am still learning this.
We
Um,
all are. Both same here.
you know, so knowing that it's not no, like it's not a no that I can't help somebody for free, that I can't help someone who can't pay. It isn't a no, it's just a I can't do, like it's just a I'm not doing it right now. Or you set aside, I've heard people talk about setting aside 10% of your time, or that's your charity back to people if you want to do that. But if it takes away from how you're earning your money, then that's not really helpful. And yet, I helped a lot of people for free, and that's how I built my Facebook ad business.
Hmm.
um, but
Well, that's
those
a
were more.
completely different
Yeah,
argument.
yeah,
Like that's like that's a strategy. Like it's not where
yeah.
people don't have money to pay for Facebook ads.
Well, some didn't, but I
Well,
that
yeah,
was.
but there's always a sum, right? What we're
Yeah,
talking about is,
yeah,
you know,
is the people with no. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
That's just kind of what I just it's a really, I think it's a very challenging thing for us.
yeah. It's something that we
So,
have to be aware of. Like I just see it all the time. Like it's uncanny how many it's kind of it's making me as a coach um start asking the question right away. Whereas like we go through all of the levels and like, did you do this? Did you do that? Do you have the market language? All that kind of stuff. And then 7 layers deep, I'm like, okay, cool. So then what are you going to charge? Well, I'm going to do a low dollar thing. Or why would you do that? Well, because they don't have any money. Oh my gosh. So I'm like learning to be a better coach to say, okay, first of all, does your market
yeah,
have money? And what kind of money are we looking at? Not that I'm a money based person, but like you said, we have to have a healthy business, or else we can't help
yeah.
anybody at all. So I'm beginning to
Well,
look like, what's the market look like? What's the what's the health of the market in terms of
market
revenue coming into your business?
and and um, I don't want to say this happens all the time because I'm a recipient of somebody helping me right now, um, who I can't pay and
Hmm.
who they are helping me. So like I know the power of that, but that person also has a very healthy business.
Yeah, so
And
that's
has
that's
for
that's
a
proof. That's what I'm
long,
talking
long
about.
time. And so there's that part of it. But there's many people that we will help for free who really we aren't helping when we're helping them for free. Like
Hmm.
sometimes we need to let them figure some other things out on their own before they're ready for how we can help them.
Right, which
Um,
is where we go back to number three, which is they are not ready now.
yeah,
Right, that's number three of why your stuff isn't selling, because they're just not ready now.
yeah,
So
yeah,
glad you brought that up. So those are the three. Like if you're just joining us, by the way, we're talking about um, like the top three in this context of the reasons why your product isn't selling. And the reasons are that you have not addressed the need or the desire of your dream client. You haven't really tapped into the desire. And I've talked about this a lot because, you know, I've learned that there's the secret level behind like what's the problem, what's the market looking for, and a lot of us look at um, uh, that surface level problem, but we haven't tapped into the desire. And for some reason, they're like, I don't want this thing, and people are like, well, I did my research, and well, what's the desire? And they don't know what the desire is, and they don't look at the product, or they don't look at the product as being as valuable or more valuable than actually what they're going to pay for it. That's huge, and that's
yeah,
why desire is so important. Like when you're starving and there's a hot dog stand over there, you'll pay anything to get the dang
yeah,
thing, right? Like that's a starving
yeah,
crowd. So that doesn't matter. That's why when you go down to the hockey games or something and you pay $14,000 for a bag of chips, So, because I want to back and just enjoy the game, that's my desire, right?
Isn't that what airports are about?
Right. Yeah.
No,
So you want to go to your destination and you want to have a little bit of a snack? We're going to charge you $100.
and you can't wait till you go home. Like,
Yeah.
like if it's a meal time and you're hungry and you haven't eaten, then you're gonna eat. You pay whatever they're charging.
Exactly.
'Cause There's
Exactly.
no there's no choice.
So that was
That's
number one. Number two is the audience doesn't have the money, time, or the desire for the product, which is kind of related to number one.
yeah,
They don't want the product what you're selling because you haven't tapped into the right desire. And bottom line is, if they can't afford it, it doesn't really matter what you say. It doesn't matter what kind of marketing you run or anything like that. It doesn't matter. And then number three is that they are not ready now. The bonus, they didn't say yet, the bonus is this, that the product doesn't deliver on its promise. And this is kind of the after effect and the negative marketing that might come. Because if they understand your product's promise and then they buy it and then it doesn't deliver, then it's not going to continue to sell and they're not going to tell anybody else to buy it either. So you've got a challenge there. So that's the bonus there. Anything
yeah.
on that?
Oh gosh, I just as I've been working on my new program and I start doing some writing about it, then
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean that has totally resonated. It's like, oh, have I overpromised? Like over delivering is good. Over delivering is good, but what am I
Not
know
over
what
promising.
I'm not over promising. I know what my desire is and I know what I believe can happen,
Yes.
but can I promise that? Because there's
Mm-hmm.
so many things that get into play that, and part of it could be that I'm not quite right. Like I've missed something somewhere along the way. It's a brand new program, so chances are I'm going to miss something, and I mean, I don't think I'm going to lead people astray. I don't believe that at all. I believe that this is going to really help them, but it has been in doing the copywriting part of it, going, hmm, what is my promise? And do I promise too much?
Yeah, that's why
So
I'm a big fan of doing the betas because we always have these assumptions. And as long as you have this small little group of people you can bring in, and then this is kind of what you're literally say these words, probably better in copy, but I think I know what this problem is, and this is what I think. This is what I think the outcome could be, or where I think I can bring you. Can you just join me for a couple of weeks and run through some stuff with me and let me know if I got this right? That's
yeah,
basically what it is. And I'm telling you, Lorna, you know this because you're an Atlas. You've been with me
yeah,
for a long time, and it made things so much easier to know: am I over promising? And I don't have to worry about that anymore. And
yeah,
you're always tweaking. Because you're always asking them, is this right? Am I getting you further? Are you moving towards something, or is there something that I need to take out or insert here to help you get to the thing that you want? Like, and by the way, Lorna, what is that thing that you want? Could you let me know what that is, please? Right?
exactly. At the end, who do you want to be, do, or have? Like,
Right.
who do you
Exactly.
want to? What do you want to have? What do you want to be, do, and have?
So Kay, thank you for this. You say sometimes time makes the desire stronger, so when they're ready, boy, do they commit. You're right. Service and we'll pay whatever you charge for it. Yes, and this is,
Yeah,
and we want to stress that this isn't about trying to get the most money out of people, right? But when we're setting up a business, however that is you set it up, you want someone to have that desire so you never have to convince them of anything. I don't care if it's $7 or $7,000. It doesn't really matter. Whatever your price point is, but it's getting to that, that whole thing of the kid in the muffin shop tugging on mom's skirt. I want that muffin. Don't care. The kid doesn't care how much it is. Doesn't know how much it is. Doesn't care. Will do anything to get the muffin.
yeah. It helps build the desire, and sometimes I think it helps nurture the desire. The desire has to be there to start with for them to want to wait until it is the right time.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
and and sometimes I guess it's not. That's what the marketing is for, is to help them see it in a different way and help them come up with the beliefs that they need to have. for them to be able to say yes to what we're offering. So, the desire, and some people, the desire's there immediately. Like they just want to do it now.
Well, what would you say, Lorna, to because at the beginning of this call you said something to the effect of, um, I just had it. It was more of like you have a desire, but they'll find the money. That was it. Like they'll find the
Yeah.
money. So can you speak to that a little bit? Like, what are your thoughts about this? And by the way, if you have a question or you want to comment or ask us about your business and everything else, let us know in the chat. We'd love to help you too. Have this engaging conversation with you as well. So let us know.
Yeah. Yeah. Kate's been engaging a lot. There's a lot of things there that she's offered too. They will find the money. Um, well, I know I have. Like if I wanted it bad enough, then I found the money. And for whether it's for marketing or courses or for buying Christmas presents, like whatever, when it's important enough for me, I found the money. Um, but yeah, I just think about, like, there's been times where people have said no and said they couldn't afford it. And then, like, 2 days later, you see they just bought another program that was like twice as much as what mine was.
Happens all the time,
Um,
right?
yeah. So, it really wasn't about money. It goes back to the value. Like, if they find its value, and one of the things that I've got on my computer is, they need to believe that they need to believe that your thing changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so it's a way, just a different way of, for me,
Yeah.
it's been a different way for me to think about how I present it. And it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the best thing on the market or the best option for everyone. Just that they need to believe that it's going to change everything for them. And if they believe that, then it's worth it. And even if they don't have the money now, because I'm like you, Joey. I'm not the marketer that says, well, like, do you have a credit card? Oh, you got the
Yeah.
first two full. Do you have a third one? Like, can you do a balance transfer for, like, lower, can you go ask your mom? Like, I'm not that person to be pushing people in that way. Um, but people make choices on with money all the time,
Yeah,
all the
and
time.
I want to address that because you see, like I think what you're proving here, what I'm hearing is that you're in this market, whatever market you want to call it. Let's just call it building your business or online business, whatever it is, marketing. Okay, and the market has money. You
Yeah.
didn't have the money at that point to buy the program, but then 2 weeks later, you're like, damn it, I'm gonna find this. So that's what we're trying to prove here is that the market does have the money. The individual might not have the money at that point, but they found it. So why am I trying to say this? What am I trying to say, Joey? I'm trying to say that if you're if you look at that logic, because anybody could take any piece of an argument or a debate or anything, clip it out and say, okay, this is what we're supposed to do, right? So let's do that. Let's take oh, well, if they can find the money, then I'm going to go into the market that doesn't have any money because they said they
Oh,
can find the money, right? So
yeah.
then, like, we go into this really poor market who doesn't have the money, and we become one of those really aggressive people, and we're saying, look, like, I know you want this thing, and let's say we're really great at doing the whole transfer thing or getting them to find the money, and they took it from their college fund or their kids' next meal fund or something, right? And they found the money, and we're happy. We're like, yes, there we go. And that's not what we're saying.
No, thank you
That's
for
not what
bringing that
we're.
up, because I
Yeah.
likely sounded like I
No, I'm not.
contradicted
I'm not, and I'm not
again.
blaming you. I just want to bring that up because
No,
I always like to look at the other
no.
side of things and go, uh huh. Okay, wait a minute, right?
Yeah, no, my comment is more for the people who
Yeah,
who do have the ability to make the choice, and really that it's not about that they don't have the money. It goes back to what you said about it. Like, it's and I can't remember whether that fits in one or two or three, but um, it's really what it isn't that they don't have the money, it's that they don't see the value to spend the money with you.
right. Yeah, on
That
your product because you haven't marketed
yeah,
it in the right way, have
yeah,
addressed it that it fits their desire or the way you've spun it, all
yeah,
that stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and how we philanthropically help the people who truly need the help and don't have the money. There's lots of different ways, and Kate's talk about sponsorship. I mean, I'm because of a recent like especially because of a recent experience I had where, I was dealing with a nonprofit that went bankrupt, and I've got an outstanding invoice that likely will never be paid. And I've grown up in nonprofits, and I've seen funding come and go. That like I've seen, like, well, and have also worked within government funded organizations. That, I mean, many of the nonprofits are that I've worked for had some government funding, some didn't. Red Cross was an NGO, but it's still dependent on so many other things that for what I deal with the nonprofits, which is for the caregivers, because that's the place where to get funding. Um, I and my 4 years philanthropical experience, my
I'm s-
experience is different than Kay's. Like I wouldn't have my business reliant on, and I don't think Kay's is. That's the difference.
yeah,
Um, there may be a room for that. Certainly not enough for me to have. There's still not enough money to make it, something that I can live on.
right.
But so I think it's just to be really careful and know for sure where that fits in your business and your world. For Kay, she's got other pieces of her business that support her, and there's been some longevity with the organization she's working with. So there's some really good pieces. So that, I mean, that could be an option for people if they've got the space and the time to want to help the people who really truly can't pay, to serve
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Um,
Okay, let's bring it to Robert's. This is a really great question. So, how do you diagnose what the real issue is with your marketing? This could be
oh,
a whole topic on its own. Thank you for bringing this up, Robert. This is amazing.
oh,
Um, okay, I'm going to give you my quick answer, and then I'll let you speak, Lorna. You're not selling. Like that's that's how you diagnose the real issue. Is it's not selling. So, what is the issue? And it's probably down to you're not speaking to the right audience because it's not selling. That's the quick answer. What do you think, Lorna? I'm gonna come back to it though, Robert.
yeah.
I just want to know
Joey,
what Lorna thinks.
you have a lot more thing. Well, so, because we talked about this a couple of shows ago too, a little bit, but I mean, if I was diagnosing it, the first place you look, it's not selling, um, and then I'd work backwards to see where it's falling off and where that message is.
Yeah.
My, I agree with you, Joey. I'm going to end up going back to, well, one of two things. One is the audience, um, which goes back to the dream client. Like
Yes.
if there's one place, however I might do it to lead people there, and however you lead people there, it ends up going back to the dream client and knowing who they are, and and whether the message that you have matches the dream client. Because I do believe that you can have your dream client and you can have that absolutely nailed down, and you can still have no sales,
Yeah.
because the message in between the where the dream client enters your world and where they get to a sales page gets too muddled up, and the message, and it that often happens because you don't know enough about the pains and the problems and the desires and their aspirations. And sometimes, even if you do, there's so many of them that we go off in about 10 different directions in our emails and our social media, and there's not the through line is
Yeah.
not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
that's
and
what I'd say.
yeah, and I agree. It's like the simplicity of this, and it's really hard to unpack without just having a conversation back and forth with you, either, Robert, because it's just like it's over a chat. It's really hard to. I'm more of a question answer type of thing, but I'll do my best. And like when it comes to the marketing, that's why I sell Atlas the way it is, because it's all about dream clients first, because we skip all of that. It's not just this thing that I want to sell. Although I love it, I got on something that I truly love and am great at selling or helping people understand. But it was when I was trying to sell something that I wanted or thought the market wanted, I always failed. It never worked because it was what I thought. And even when I was looking at the dream client arena, it was still like an avatar thing. And people said to me, nobody's going to buy that because we already have that. However, so think about what I'm just saying here. Because what I'm talking about really is I help people understand their avatar in a deeper level to a dream client level. Okay. So whatever you want to call it, but just let's bring it up to a surface standard of like what everybody calls it, like avatar, customer avatar. So that's really what I kind of do. But that's like, it's a commodity. Everybody does it. Every course has that. That's the first module you go through. Why would anybody pay you $3,500 to do that? Because I understand what the desire is. And the desire is not, people don't really want to understand the dream client. What they want is they want more sales, they want more freedom, and they want all the other things. And I sell that. And I go, and so everything that I do relates back to you don't know who your dream client is. It is not a, it's not a marketing gimmick, but it's the truth, the way that I see it, right, Robert? So if that once I tap into, well, Rob, I'll just use you, Robert, as an example. Like, Robert, what do you want? And then you tell me, and then I bring it back down to helping you understand, like what we're just saying, Lauren and I, that, well, you don't know, you may not be speaking to the right audience right now, and to the desire. If you believe that, then I could sell you on my program, right? Just like, let me help you understand this, so you could get what you want. Does that make sense? So whatever you're selling, it's the same thing. Would you agree with that, Lorna? Like, did I articulate that the right way?
Yeah, and I mean it doesn't it hasn't mattered where I've studied marketing. It all goes back to the dream client. The thing is, what's different is that what is taught in most courses, and I haven't taken all courses, so I can't say it's all courses, but in the courses I've taken, that piece is at the beginning, and it's not emphasized as being really important.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really take, it tells you what to do and a little bit of how, but the, um, the information, like the information is not enough, and the emphasis on it is not enough as they go through the rest of the modules. That's what I would say. And I think that's what's different with Atlas and the way that you teach it, is that it always goes back to the dream client, but you've expanded what that is and you show why it's important to know it
Mm-hmm.
and how that impacts the rest of the journey. The other
Mm-hmm.
part is that when you talked about knowing their desire for the Atlas students, what their desire is the piece is they want the simplification.
Yeah,
They're
that's very true.
tired. They're tired of trying to figure out how to build a landing page in Kajabi or Groove or Entreport or whatever lead page. Like it's doing another one. It's doing another one. And what do I put in the writing? And what do I do with this? And it's not going to my email provider. How do I integrate it? And why isn't that the autoresponder is not working? And like they don't want all of that.
Yeah.
They want it simplified. So I think that's that your real bookends are the dream client, and having that dream client defined in a far broader way, and more authentic way, and maybe even, and then having the simplification of how to talk with them
Yeah, and
without.
and so, like, I hope you're listening, Robert, or anybody else listening to this, is like, you know, the program is never the thing that you sell. And a lot of us try to sell the program, Atlas, whatever program you are, Lorna's through line program, whatever you're calling it, like whatever it is. Like, if as soon as we move out of the product is just the through line. It's the boat, it's the journey, it's the bridge. So once I learned to sell the desire, which is everything that you said, Lorna, and even a couple more, which is I want my life back. I want to be me again. Like all these things, because they were told to do something else, or they feel as though when they're doing other types of marketing that they can't be themselves or whatever, right? So I'm selling that. I'm like, you can just be yourself. Why do you have to do this? Or why do you have to do that? Blah, blah, blah. So as soon as I start saying this, that triggers them like, oh my gosh, look, so how do I do this? And I go, it's just this thing called Atlas. And that's basically what it is. That's why you still see a lot of people in my world who say like, what's Atlas? right? Because I don't sell Atlas. Like, it's not an acronym, it's not the thing. And I don't really care. What I care about is talking to the people who are having a problem of the outcome of that dream island or that oasis of, like, I want my freedom, like true freedom. I want my freedom. I want simplicity. I want to be calm. I want to get up and work with people I love. All of these things. That's what really gets the conversations for me, Robert, because I know that you're just talking here about emails and messages, direct messages. Atlas never comes up. Like, the only time, like, I'm just using my example, like the word of the program, it never really comes up unless it says, somebody starts with a question of, like, can you tell me more about Atlas? And I don't sell, and I go, okay. And then I go into a discussion about their desires, and it has nothing to do with Atlas anymore. It has nothing, it never goes that way. It's always about, I'm understanding them in a way that they've never been understood before. And they feel that when it's because I see here,
Yeah.
Robert, you're saying that, thank you, Lorna, that you're saying the wrong things to the right audience. And so my advice would be, you have to have more conversations with that right audience and not sales conversations. This is what I tell everybody in Atlas. And it really hurts because people that are coming into my program at the beginning are all the same. They all have these amazing gifts that are not selling yet. And they want money, they need money. But I'm the dude who is not only telling them about the oasis, but I'm also telling them the truth. I'm like, well, it's probably going to be a hard road at the beginning, and I wish we could make you a whole bunch of money. I want that for you, but you may not. But let's fix the problem so this doesn't continue happening for years and years and years. And there's only a small, minute percentage of the market, still a good market, that will accept those parameters to build their business. And those are dream clients for me, right? So I'm very clear on who these people are. Because everybody can say, well, Joey, I'd love to know this. Well, you still have to understand that there's a pain that you have to go through. And if you're not willing to push the weights and do all this, so I tell all this in my conversations, Robert. Like, I'm very upfront with people. And people think I'm crazy. They're like, why would you tell somebody they're not going to make any money and they're going to pay you? I'm like, well, because that's the truth. Like, I don't want to overpromise something, right? So I went off a tangent there, but what I'm saying to you is what I tell everybody in Atlas is, start having conversations that are not sales conversations with the right people. And to you, whatever you want to call it, your right audience, your ideal client, whatever it is, have those conversations first without selling, without trying to sell. And I guarantee you 100%, I will put money on this. I will put $5 right now, because I carry that kind of money around every day, that it will work, that you will find the right message to talk to the right audience. And then later you could sell it. Okay. Whew. I'm done for now. Lorna, can you interject there?
How do I follow that? My goodness.
I just had to get that out because I love you, Robert. Thank you for this question. It's amazing.
Well, I'm not sure, like, if Robert isn't in the Heart Center Marketing Facebook group.
Yeah,
I
he is. I believe
he
he
is.
is. If
It's like
not,
I
I'm
kind
going
of
to invite everybody right now.
maybe,
Keep going.
yeah, yeah, that would be a good idea, because I think this would be like an interesting question in the group as well,
Yeah, this is
um,
really great.
because it does happen, and really, in some ways, there is certainly a desire for 10 people, um, off a workshop. So there was some interest,
Hmm.
and just what cuts um, kind of pops out to me here is that there's that one of the differences here is that it would have been a workshop where I'm assuming you were likely live, and then the crickets happened in emails and direct messages, and like those are two different modes of communication. So whether uh, live should always, like, I think, Joey, you can tell me wrong, but I think when you're doing anything live, your sales should be better than, like, there should be a higher conversion rate than with email and direct messages, maybe, but even that conversation's still a bit different, or a lot different, because you're still not face to face live. So it wouldn't surprise me that there was more in a live workshop. But I would wonder whether some of the messaging did change when it went into an email, even slightly. But I don't want to say more about that because I'm not sure what the email and direct messages were and what the
Yeah.
path was for people to get those emails. So it really depends on that. And this might not be your what you're what you've been doing, Robert. And I just bring this up because I just saw another post not too long ago, or maybe even two, I don't know, like somebody wanting to go what would be considered evergreen, so that you're not dealing live at all. They're, the course is just available all the time and they can go buy it. And they do it before the course is actually proven to have predictable and reliable results.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so you might sell 10 off of one workshop. If that's the first time, you need to repeat that likely
Mm-hmm.
another 5, 10, 50 times. Like,
Yeah, like
so it depends which coach you talk to, how many
yeah.
times, but you want to know, like, you want to be at the point where you say, I'm doing this workshop, and I know for sure that I'm going to make, there's going to be this many sales, like in marketing speak, maybe not Heart Center, but there's going to be this many students who are going to join me on in this workshop. I've got this many signed up, or I've emailed to this many, so I should have this many sign up, minimum. This is the minimum sales, and that, and within whatever percentage is reasonable, you're right. And when that can happen, when you're right, I don't know how many times you'd have to be right. I would think 5, 10 times at least. Then you can move into doing something more evergreen. So I'm not sure that that's what you were talking about, Robert. I don't want to assume that, but I just wanted to throw that in that whole line with the messaging as well, because that's where it can get messed up and people get really disappointed.
Yeah, and to your point, like thank you for this, Robert. Thank you for being vulnerable and honest and everything like
Mhm.
this because it's tough. Like and this is the thing that I was gonna add to what Lauren is saying is all along that messaging thing. And I'm just gonna speak from my perspective or the way that I approach it. This doesn't mean that it's right for you or anybody else listening to this, but I I'm just going to use the workshop example. So like if I did the workshop and I had 10 sales and then I was following up, like I was taught to follow up on people and trying to get sales that way. Like I don't
Yeah.
do any of that. Like it's very rare you will ever hear or feel or see me follow up after I do a pitch or a webinar or anything else. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying from what I believe, and this is again, it's only because I know my market. I know my dream clients. So take this advice and adapt it to whatever it works for you. But none of my dream clients want to be pushed ever. Like they don't want to feel pushed in any way, shape, or form. And so I'm very aware of that. And even though it works for a billion other people that there's follow up emails or sales emails, and thank you for saying that. You said you might have been too salesy. And that's kind of what I wanted to be delicate about. Like, were you really about trying to help them or trying to make a sale or whatever, right? And what I can tell you, and again, this is from my opinion, from my experience, is that people can feel the desperation of when we're trying to sell something. Ask me how I know. Like I spent many years on calls working with every yin yang sales marketing thingy objection based handling stuff that you can imagine. NLPs all the way through. And didn't matter what I did, didn't matter that I wasn't the best salesperson in the world, didn't matter the scripts that I used. They just felt the desperation. And I'm not saying that that's you, but for anybody listening, that's probably another bonus item of why your stuff doesn't sell. Because even through this conversation right now over the airwaves, you can feel energy, you can feel passion. Man, talk about passion. Like I don't know if you listen to my buddy like Alex Sharfin. You ever watch his stuff? And Dan Bartel, talk about passion. Like when you feel it, man. I cry when I
You,
watch their
you,
stuff.
you know what? Just as an aside,
I'm like,
yeah, I have taken. I mean, I recommend Alex Sharfin's Momentum podcast. I mean, there's some things that are, for businesses that are at high level, but there's things for beginners, and you learn everything. But he has one of the best intros ever, and I did like I played it on my computer and voice recorded it on my phone, and it's
Mm.
kind of like my Rocky theme. I haven't quite
Nice.
I haven't quite got doing it every day, but I like that's it's something that I'll go to if I'm having a little dip. I just go like because it's like I can't stop being helping people when after I listen to his intro. It
You
is
know,
amazing.
I was sharing. I happened just before the call. He just released. I'll just give a little bit of plugs. I'm so proud of it. He did a little reel today, and he was talking about our academy call. He didn't back. Remember the one?
Oh yeah.
When did he was like in September, right? Anyway,
Um,
just part of the clip. He was just talking about when he just got off the call, and wait till you see it. Like I'm going to share it with the group. I've shared it, I think, on
I
Instagram.
think yeah, I saw the share on Instagram, but I didn't get a chance to
You have to
listen.
listen to it. Like
Cool.
just listening to him talk, and you could feel the passion in his like what he does, man. I'm just like, wow. And the bonus is that hey, he's he was mentioning us, right? But remember that call, like how impactful that call
Uh,
was, especially for some of the members, how it just totally broke them in a good way.
yeah. Well, it did.
Y- Like
Yeah.
because you were on that call, you'll know. Like when you watch that clip, because it was just like when he got off the call, he just turned on his camera and started recording it because he was so passionate about what he was talking to us about. And you'll feel that energy and it'll take you right back to that moment when he was on in the call with
Yeah.
us.
I can feel it now. Oh, well, I
Yeah.
can start to feel it.
Yeah, it's incredible. But anyway, that's a whole other side. I mean, I
Enough
could talk about
advertising
Alex
for
like all day long, right? So, but this is I think that's important because this is a person who cares about you. You know when you're listening to him, like yeah, he's got stuff to sell. He's a coach and all this stuff, but he's not there just to sell you stuff. And that's why I say like when I met him, and this is not just about Alex, like, but I want to bring it back to what we're talking about here, Robert K. Like, just think about what I'm saying here. I trust him so much because before I even knew him and before he was a friend, okay, I trusted him so much because he spoke my language. It was within a minute that he spoke that I go, this guy knows entrepreneurs like no other person in the world. This guy is the entrepreneur. And I knew it from the moment he opened his mouth. Why? Because that's all he does. He lives and breathes it and speaks to people day in, day out. And he listens, and he's always growing, right? He's always even recently I listened to one of his little things and he said, I just learned this about it was about hiring some people, and he goes, I didn't understand that people didn't understand this, and the reason was because I'm too close to my product and I need to step back out. And I think
Mm.
we all need to learn that, right? That's why I love doing Atlas. That's why I love doing expand, and we'll get to your question in a second. um Lissandro, I think that's you, Lissandro. Because I get too close to it, right? This is 14 editions of now of Atlas, and like you said at the beginning, like do however many renditions and know that you can have the product and it sells and all this stuff, right? I'm the coach that'll tell you need to do 100 transformations. I'm one of those guys, not 10. Uh, and it's like okay, and I'm talking about transformations, not sales, but 10, so 100 transformations. So I'm still getting to that point, and I look at things and I'm like they should know this, but they don't. So we have to step back out of our product. And this is for everybody. Like, listen to what I'm saying and adapt it to what is not happening for you. So if your marketing is not landing, it's maybe because you're trying to either sell the product and not the desire, or you're talking to the wrong audience. And in your case, Robert, it's a good problem to have that you're talking to the right audience, but you're just saying the wrong thing. And that means that it's so much easier because you could imagine just having everybody over as for like a party at your house, and you go, hey guys, come on over to my house and we're just gonna just brainstorm a little bit and nothing to sell. And then they come over and you guys jam and you guys eat pizza and stuff, and you're like, so guys, like let's just like what's going on, like what's the problems, and you're recording all of this stuff. And that's where all the breakthroughs happen, because they don't feel like they're trying to be sold at all. They're just they know that somebody cares about them.
Yeah.
That's what it is about. But I have to tell you that no matter who's listening to this at this point, wherever you are in your business, especially if you're struggling, this is the hardest stuff to hear, because you know, you may look for somebody else to say, well, here, just buy this and this will help you make more sales. And maybe that'll happen.
Well, maybe. Rich, the how did Rich Sheffrin said it to me, kind of like um, when I was going through my 2023 year, and said that I realized I was really looking for somebody to save me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's he doesn't save anybody. He helps a lot of people, but he's not going to save anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And but he said there'll be lots of people that will tell you that. There's lots of people who will sell you by saying that they're going to save you, but it never works out that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, I totally believe that. And but I was thinking um that with all that we've said, a lot of this is really simple, and yet it's not always easy, or at least I'll speak for myself and for the people who think like me, because not everybody thinks like me. But I can speak for what it's like for me. And I think it is a very similar for many marketers and many coaches who are learning to market. um, is that it's harder to do my own things than it is for me to help someone else with their marketing. Like, I can see things in other people's marketing that, when I'm in the midst of it myself, sometimes I just call it, I'm in my intellectual logical brain, and somehow my creative marketing brain goes on a holiday. So it's helpful to have people around you that can help get you out of that. And that's what happened for me last week, like where I was, and thinking I had what I needed for this proposal I was doing. And you know after I got the help that I did, it was like way simple. In 2 hours it was a whole lot better, and it's like I can't even believe I sent out what I sent, because it was it really wasn't very good. Like, sometimes you can't see your own stuff, so you don't want to do this in isolation. Like, you want to have help, you want to have
Yeah. Yeah.
people around you who can help you see that, and not ever feel bad because maybe you've heard it 100 times and you didn't do it for yourself. That, I think, that's part of the process, or the process, depending what country you're in. So yeah, that's just what stuck out for me, because it was a recent experience for me of making it, sometimes getting in my own way because I overthink it.
Yeah.
Is And I don't always. Yeah, I'm not down on myself with that. It's just something I recognize, but I think that it's true for most people that we can't do this in isolation.
Yeah.
Uh, we need to learn, like, we need to get the information we need to have, and then we need to have people support us as we start to implement it and use it.
Yeah.
And I think, we're just, I'm guessing I don't know, maybe all people get in their own way. And I've heard many marketers talk about, like, just getting in their own way. And
Everybody
that's,
does, Lorna. That's why everybody has a
just,
coach. The right people
yeah.
have the coach. That's why I have coaches too. I can't see my own stuff. But let's go back to this question here. And
Well, yeah.
the one question, the one thing I just want to finish up on, and we can still, if you have more questions about this, Robert, I'm happy to answer this for you. But you know, when we're talking about like understanding the dream client or whatever you want to call it, this is not just something that's brand new. This goes way back to, all books. If you go back to breakthrough advertising, like it all started way back then, like, and even way before that, is like understand who you're actually selling to. And if you look at recent books, maybe 20 years ago, something like that, like Steve Blank kind of stuff, if you really look at the books, they are like, he says something in there. I think it's Steve Blank, and if it's not, it's somebody else there, but I think it's him. And he says, you have to get out of the building. This is like way before digital huge things. Like, you have to get out of the building and walk the streets. And what he's talking about there is go talk to your customers. Like, go ask them, because the
Yeah.
marketing departments and all, they're in the rooms with the whiteboards, and the marketers are there, and the developers are there. The people building the products are over there, like, okay, we got this, let's do it. And they build this thing and nobody buys it. It's the exact same thing as we are here in digital world. That's why I do betas. That's why I get out of the building, right? Out of the building. And I go talk to everybody. I'm talking to people every single day. And even when people are actually buying the thing, I'm talking to them inside the program. Does this right? Is this right? Do you get this? Is the understanding? Not that they're dumb. I'm just trying to understand them more. Like, okay, let me up level this thing. So that's the answer, really. If your marketing is not working, then there's a couple of reasons. But for your case, Robert, I'm going to say it again. You're talking to, if you think that that's the right audience, you have a gold mine sitting in front of you. But it's not about selling them right now. It's about having a conversation with them. And it's the hardest thing. It's the hardest thing not to get on a call, like, I'll just use the discovery call, and get on a call and try to sell them the program, even if you're not going to, like, not literally say, so, hey, would you like to buy this? What I'm talking about is seeding the program, right? Like, so whatever it is that you sell, I'll just call mine marketing and say, like, so, hey, like, would you, if there was a program that really helped you get clear on your dream client or your client avatar and niching, that would help you make like $100,000, would you buy that kind of thing? Like, that's not that's not getting data. That's selling your program without selling it. Even if you don't sell it, even if they say, "Oh my gosh, I would love that. Is that available?" And then you say, "Oh yeah, here it's $49.95 over here if you buy it right now." It's like, but that's not what I'm saying. But we do this a lot, and this is another thing I had to learn, which was, I don't know the right words, but I'll use dumbing down for ourselves. We dumb it down for ourselves to say, "I don't know anything. Just tell me what you see and what you perceive as the problem going on in your life, even though we are experts and we know already what they're going to say." I don't know about you, Lorna,
Yeah. No,
but for
I,
me, it's the hardest thing to, like, sit
yeah.
there and go, "Tell me what your problem is," and I already know what they're going to say.
Well, yeah, it's hard, and I'm one that goes in spurts with resisting those conversations. It's just, and yet they're so valuable to get that information, and they are, the conversations have to happen like some way or another. And I think for Robert, like, there's some value even with doing a conversation with people who bought the course.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and I mean that conversation, and the way that Joey talks about it in Atlas is where you're doing that conversation every week. Like if you're doing it live,
Yeah.
there's constant conversation of what's working, what was the most useful, and where do you need more clarity. And I have sometimes used what worked well and what would have worked better. There's different ways of having that conversation, but it happens week by week, so you're not necessarily having to get people on a call. But
Yeah.
if you're wanting to find out, what, it would be a different kind of call, because you're asking, why, more about what drew them to the program, um, and then finding out what's worked well and what hasn't worked. But the conversations with the other people, I think one of the, at least for me in the place I'm in right now, and I think a lot of people can be in this space,
Mm-hmm.
is like, who do I ask? Like, where do I go if I don't have a big email list already? Then who,
Yeah.
or
That
if I all those kinds of things, and that's maybe a whole other call. Or
that's another discussion for, like,
yeah,
a whole other
but
like, there's so many ways we could look at answering the question. But
yeah.
like, the marketing piece of it is, like, here's one other thing I just want to finish up with, Robert, is that you might have heard the question or the advice, and again, I'm not saying this is wrong advice, but it's where you ask people who didn't buy why they didn't buy. And I am not a fan of that, and the only reason that I'm not a fan of it is because of my market again. And that's what I'm not saying it's not right, but I've never done that. However, so this is why I want you to really think about your market. Anybody else listening to this is like, where can I make changes to what everyone else is doing, or get different data, because I'm trying everything else that everybody's told me to do? Then how can I make it different? Here's how I made it different and how I understood what my dream clients were. As soon as somebody bought from me, like 10 minutes later, they get an email that says, "Why did you buy?" Like it's this basically that. Like,
Yeah.
why did you buy? And I cannot tell you the clarity that I get from that answer. It's a
Yeah.
completely different parameter of why didn't you buy? It's like, well, what made you buy? And this allowed me to understand why they buy because it wasn't about the price. Nobody ever said this was a dang good price, right? It was a great deal. Never have I heard that. Never. And it's always about the things that I talk about, like their life. They began to trust me, like all these other things. So I get insight on why. And sometimes I even get stories of like, well, I've been following you for 2 years. And I finally got to the point where XYZ, blah, 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 blah. And you said da 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 da. And I trust this. And that's given me insight of why this person is trusting me at this part of the game when I haven't even begun to coach them. It's just counterintuitive, but it works like a charm. So anyway, I want to give that a little tip. The beta test. So back to you, Sandro. Thank you for waiting. Hopefully you're still here. My opinion again on this is that no beta course should be free because you want somebody to invest their money, which is one of the things we just talked about. Like, is it valuable enough for them to trade their money for the thing that you're talking about, for the desire, for the promise that you're saying? And so, you'll learn this because I know you're in Atlas. You'll see this on Thursday. We'll start talking about this, but for everybody else who's not, this is what the thing that what I say is that I want you to first of all know what you're going to sell the product for, like the public retail price in the end. Could be 5 years, 10 years, could be 5 days. I don't care what it is. But what is the valuable price that you are going to sell this for first? You have to know that. There's a formula to get into all that I help you with, but I'm not going to get into all that. So let's say it's $3,000. You could sell it now for $500 or $1,000 and then move yourself like upward toward that price. But that's what I would suggest. So never do it for a trade of testimonials or free because they're not bought in. Somebody's not like if I'm going to sell a $3,000 program eventually in the future, which is exactly how Atlas started, by the way, right? Then I'm going to say this is worth 3,000, but right now I'm going to do it for 1,000 because basically I have no idea what I'm doing. That's really how Atlas started. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I got anything right, but would you please give me $1,000 so you can tell me if I'm right or wrong? And if I'm totally wrong, I'll give you back all your money. Right, Lorna? Like that's how
Yeah.
it all started.
And then there's that other part of Joey where it's like, of course I'm going to pay $1,000 because if I don't buy it now, if I wait, it's going to be a lot more money. So because it's never going to be that low again. That's a whole another live stream.
Yeah, that's
But
like yeah, keep to your word, whatever.
yeah, yeah, there's some integrity there, that's for sure. But I think that this came up in something else somewhere else as well. The thing about the low price and the testimonials is, and when I'm thinking low price, I'm thinking like somebody's trying to sell it for $47 or $97 instead of starting at $497 because
Right.
it goes back, not it go, to start with, it goes back to your dream client.
Hmm.
And with your students, part of the thing is that our dream client is willing to pay the 500,000, 20, 2,000, 3,000, whatever it is.
Why?
Um,
But okay, so I'm going to stop you there. Why are they willing to pay that? What's the word? What do they have?
what do they have? Like,
We've
what do
talked about
the
it all day long today.
well, they know the value, like
Well, the
they
value and the desire is where
the desire. Yeah,
yeah, they
they
have
have
the
the desire.
desire to change something in their life to get something. Anyway, sorry
But
to
but
interrupt. Keep going.
the desire could be there for some people for a $47 program, but they're still not likely the same people as far as your dream client. And again, this isn't a blanket thing,
Yeah,
and it's not a criticism, but the people who might come in for a $47 program are not likely going to. You start building your audience of people who aren't likely to invest in a higher, like a premium
yeah,
group.
yeah, yeah,
So it's a bit of a dance on how you do it, and there's lots of different philosophies around that. And there's some, I don't think they're wrong, Like
No.
it just depends how you want to do it and how, like, what resonates and what feels best for you. And the thing with the testimonials, because recently I saw like somebody was doing something that, really likely could be at least a $1,500 or $2,000 program, and they were doing it for $47 because they wanted people to come in and give testimonials.
Hmm.
Some of the problems with the testimonial idea is, again, are they the right people? Are they going to
Right.
speak to the desire of your dream client? But often where people start with the testimonials, because it's like, just get a small group together. Like, really, Joey, you're not the first one to really say that. You're the
Yeah.
first one to do it your way, like the
Yeah.
what with what you're doing it. But like, there's a lot of like, just get a small group together and do it and see what they think. So we get our sister and our brother, and we get, our best friend, and we get whoever, and they're not our dream clients.
Yeah.
And so they give test. Some of them won't even finish the program anyway because they're not invested, because we often do that part for free, like if we get our friends and family. And it's not like their desire isn't what, like, they don't have their desire is to help us. Like, their desire is to help us get practice and to get the testimonials. Like, they're there because they care about us, but their desire is not for what the outcome is
Yeah.
for
Look
the.
at like, hey, this is bang on.
So that's just a little bit of the warning about doing it for testimonials, is to still be really careful, because that's the start of mixed messaging for and building an audience that isn't the right audience for. That happens way too often.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything depends on who that person is, because like we've all been. I'm sure that everybody knows that there's uh, marketing that talks about low things and then moving them up step by step by step by step, and then there's an argument for it all, that it all there. I can definitely, if I spent an hour, I could find you all kinds of different success stories about that, all
Yeah.
kinds. Like, we can
But
always find what we want, but what I'm looking at is, what do I want my life to look at like first, and then build everything around that. And if I have all of these components going on in my life of trying to build these different products and all these levels, it's really, really difficult. At least for me, this is just my personal take on it.
something I heard, um, in a video the other day, that, with from somebody that I truly respect, and believe that it's possibly true, for everyone. I mean, he believes it's true. Is that one of the reasons we want to do the low price marketing, or the low price offers, is because we don't want to do the marketing.
Hmm.
That it's the easy way to.
Well,
It's an
yeah.
easy.
Remember, I showed you that the what is it called now? Is that what I call it? The niche selector. Remember,
Yeah,
it's in that quadrant. This is
yeah,
easy, but
yeah,
it's also hard,
yeah,
because,
yeah.
or no, it's not. Sorry, it's easy, but it's poor. It keeps you poor, because
Yeah,
there's, and that's because you're trying to do so many of them, and you're spending ads or whatever, or like on a $47 product, really, how much profit do you actually make? I guess, and there's arguments for this. You can, well, this guy did a webinar and he sold 100 million of them. Pretty good. Spent an hour and you hold 100 million of them. That's a pretty good darn profit, right? That's a completely. There's always there's always front runners that everybody compares to, but that's not the norm in any of it. Even the stuff I do, that it's not the norm.
no, no. And,
So,
and you can decide whether that was a true thought or not, because I still mull it around in my head, because some of it seems successful for people, but they're very
well, to a
often
degree,
not
like
not
Lorna.
for high. Like, they've already got a business that's kind of growing, and they've got an audience, and they've got a lot of other things that. But
Well, to a degree, I would agree with it, because I'll tell you that I bought a program. I think it was $47, something like that, and it's something that I kind of want to do, right? And I know that the whole marketing is in a funnel, because all I've been getting after that is like, hey, do you want to upgrade to this one? And then Christmas came around and like, hey, there's an offer for this and blah blah. So set it and forget it. Person's making money, I suppose, right? And I bought
yeah,
it, but am I in the program now doing it? No. It's like, okay, well, whenever I got some time, I'll kind of go do that. There's no desire. There's kind of a little hidden desire way, way back, but it's not like front burner. So,
no,
there's an argument for that. And that person, are they really doing the marketing? I would say no. They're not.
They're
talking to me.
selling. They're
They're just
selling.
selling the thing. It's an evergreen thing. Here you go, right? So you're right. I would say like, yeah, you don't want to do the marketing. Like that I'm in doing marketing every day. Like this is part of what I do. I talked about it today on Academy. What are the things I want to do? Have conversations, right? That's what I want. That's what I want to do because that's what brings me money. That's marketing. And you're right. Some people don't want to do that. Fantastic. Then don't follow what I'm saying. But I know that I have a pretty easy life when it comes to all the other stuff that has to do with marketing, like you just talked about at the beginning, the landing pages, the funnels, the things, the blah 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 blah, and the tracking and the UTM codes and the thing, and like, oh my god, forget it. Just let me have conversations over here.
Yeah,
So this is a great conversation. Holy macro, I, I
I
hate I
know.
hate I hate to go, but let me answer some of these questions here real quick. So, how to distribute free and paid stuff? How much should I help people that I don't want to pay, even if they have the money? That's going to send us both on another tangent. Let's talk about that inside of Atlas, Lissandro, because that's going to come up. But um, do you have like a quick answer for this, Lorna? So I'm trying to formulate a real quick answer.
My non-heart centered response is, don't.
Yeah,
Like, send them if they don't have the money to pay for the course. I mean, if they have the money, but they want, I think it goes back to it. It's not the right time for them. It's not
yeah,
in their time. The desire isn't there.
yeah,
Their desire for what you can help with aren't there. So even if they have the money, they're looking for answers. And I would tend to look at it like almost like a doctor, um, in that this is part of the diagnosis. So they're looking there and they've got this problem, and you could help the problem, but they don't want to go to the extent to get the information that you have. So you're not the right person for them because they're not fitting within what your business is. So, I mean, there's a couple of different ways. That's where you have, whether you've got a Facebook group that people can join, you've got other content you can send them to, you can refer them to someone else. So you can always help, but you don't have to help beyond, like you don't have, like there's a line there. Like there's a line between how much you help, um, and when they and I don't know how we know that they have the money, but sometimes we know they have the money because we see what they spend. We've got that. Um, but some people are just never going to pay, and a lot of it, I think, it would go back to that they're not seeing the value,
right.
um, enough to pay.
Yeah,
So
they
it
don't they
goes
don't see
back
the
to a
value.
number of things.
Yeah, they don't see the value. It's not the right time, and or they don't have the desire.
Yeah,
it's a nice to have. There's people in my world who hang around and stuff that will never buy. They kind of like stuff, but like they're never going to buy. And I know they have money, but and that's what you'll see. Like Lissandra, it's more of when you have these people in the group. If they're all like this and they don't want to buy, you're speaking to the wrong audience.
yeah,
You've curated the wrong people. They're just
yeah,
not. They don't want to buy. Here's a crazy example of this. I don't know why this triggered into my head to parallel this, and it may or may not make sense, but it does for me. Again, I'm going to reference Dan Martell because I was listening to one of his podcasts, and I'm talking about people with money. So let's that's the reference point. So he's got a lot of money, and so then when he was asked to go on a trip, whatever there was, and they said, "Hey, we're going to go and drive these amazing cars, like these amazing race cars, all over Europe or something," and he's like, "What else are we going to do?" Like it's not that he doesn't have the money to do the thing, but he's like, so what? So what I'm trying to say is that if the company was trying to sell him, hey, you can come to Europe and drive all these amazing cars all around the world, and nobody else gets to drive them. They're supercars. He's like, so what? Like I want to go to if I'm going to go to Europe, I want to do something else that has a physical component. And this is from his example. I want to be climbing a mountains or something like. Tell me something physical. Are we going to race the Tour de France or something like that? Whatever, right? So that was his desire, as opposed to, well, dude, you got the money. Like, why don't you just go do this? Like, right? So it doesn't matter. It all has to do with, do they truly want the thing that you're selling? Does that make sense? I hope that parallel made sense. Like
yeah.
what I'm trying to say there. Because people, even with money, you could say, well, here, you got the money. Like, so what? I don't want that. Like, it's the same thing for me. If I had, dude, if I had like $10 million that I had nothing to do with, like, what am I going to do with this $10 million? And some dude shows up and says, here, like, this is the best Lamborghini you can buy. Do you think I'm going to buy that Lamborghini? It's just not who I am. I got nothing against Lamborghinis or any car to that degree. Like, don't care. Yeah, but you have the money. You just said you don't know what to do with $10 million. Don't care. Like, so, like, I don't know if that's resonating with anybody or you, Lorna, but it's, to me, it's like, I don't have the desire to do that. Right? It's just, I'm not the audience for that, even though I've got money.
I think one of the things, I think I talked about this a bit on the at the beginning. You know, some of the challenges that we have, especially as heart centered entrepreneurs, is that we are not compelled in any way to help everyone who comes into our world. We can choose, and we can choose it in a heart centered way. And I do truly believe that sometimes, almost, there is a way. I guess there is a way, um, for us to be able to move people along on their journey in a way that they either stay and hang out with us, they do some of the free stuff, or we recommend somebody different or a
Yeah.
different. We can still help. We can still help them. We don't have to help them um, by letting them take from us in a way that doesn't feel right. And it seems that when it happens too often, that we end up in a feeling, um, like we regret it. There's resentment, like when things can just get into that way, and it's because we've tried to help someone who really doesn't want to be helped. And
Right.
it's not to criticize anyone, it's just to know, um, that they're in a different place and we're not the right people. And in the conversation that I had with this other person on Sunday, I found a meme came up on, I think, on Monday morning after, that just said, like, don't drown yourself trying to help people who don't want the help.
Right.
And I think heart-centered people will do that. And I say that for me because there's, like, up until likely a few months ago, I would say that I would, like, when it comes to the caregivers, I would die helping them before I would die helping myself. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that's a healthy place to be.
No.
But in a but I think that it's relative to everyone in different, like, just in a different way. But for a lot of heart-centered people, we tend to have that thought. We just want to help so much. And to be able to create the boundaries for ourselves and realize that we are helping sometimes, when, like, often we're helping when we're not helping. Sometimes they need to have somebody say, this is what I can do for you, and if you want more, this is how I can help. And some will take that path, some will take time to get on that path, some will get ticked off because whatever's going on for them, and maybe they're not happy. But even if they're not happy, we've helped them move on to a different part of the path, and they might find an answer somewhere else, or they come back later. We don't have to give it all. It's that right timeline piece. Like, it's the right timeline piece.
Yeah.
Is it on their timeline? And it, the money piece is hard. Like, it's a bit of a challenge
It's
sometimes
always
to,
going to be a challenge.
but
I want to piggyback on what you just said, but I want to also thank Robert. Thank you for acknowledging, and hope this goes well if you're still here for your data tomorrow. So yeah, just don't try to sell them. That would be, if I was coaching you. Don't try to sell them tomorrow. Uh, just say, I'm just here to answer questions, get some feedback on what it is you need some help with, and maybe it'll help me shape something in the future. I don't know. I don't even know what that would look like, that kind of thing. And listen to them. But what you just said, Lorna, is important because when we're talking about, here's one thing that I've realized, and this is by doing the one thing for the last 4 years over and over and over again, and this will help you, Lissandro, if you're still, and everybody else too, if you're looking at what's the balance of the free stuff to the paid stuff and all that. And I don't really have a concrete answer, like a thing, but I've got a better answer than I would have answered last year or 2 years ago. Here it is. Because I've been doing the same thing again and again and again, and and Atlas is growing. It's like it's becoming. It's always evolving. The less I care about, and I shouldn't say that in it's not in a bad way, but the less I worry about, oh, should I give that in the audience? Should I tell them that? Because I'm always learning what inside the program their true desires really are and how the connections actually matter, right? So like all the puzzle pieces begin to come to life inside Atlas, no matter what they've already known outside of it, right? So I begin to like, well, this doesn't really matter. Like I could teach the superpower matrix, and if somebody goes off and never buys from me and they've learned something from that, fantastic. If they learn, look, how many times have I gone on to this show alone with a brainstorm that I just did an hour before? I haven't even shown Atlas yet. And I'm like, this is kind of what I'm thinking. This is another thing. And I'm sharing this with the world, like going, this is kind of an idea. And right. And maybe it blows up, maybe it doesn't, right? It's just that there's so much inside the program, and you'll learn this, Lissandro. Like when you're doing the same thing again and again and again with the right dream clients that do have the money and want to pay you, that they are paying you to be in there because of your brilliance, your insight, your guidance, and the connections that you can piece all of this stuff that's out here, all that free stuff together. Not that this is bad stuff out here. Not that it's like, oh, well, that didn't really help me. Like it does. But I can tell you that I've heard so many times that people, once they get inside my program, at least, they're like, man, I thought I had it all together. I've seen you teach this before and I understood it, but now it all comes together, right? And that's only because they're inside the program. But that doesn't mean out there, those little pieces, dream client connections or superpower matrix, 4% multiple. I can go on and on and on about the stuff that's actually out there that is really good stuff that I could actually charge for. Do you know how many $47 programs I could come up with? Right? Right, Lorna?
Yeah.
Like, think about
Oh, yeah.
that. So, but I'm like, why? What for? It's energy putting into. I'm going to show you how to do the superpower matrix or this 4% multiplier or whatever, and let's do a $47 thing. It's not that I don't want to help those people. It's just a lot of energy to do the marketing. Like Lorna was saying, it's to do all of that, to set it all up, blah, 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 show up, do the webinar, whatever. And it's just like, I'll just give it. And I believe that, Lissandro, if you're following my lead, you will get to that point where right now you're like, what should I give away for free and what shouldn't I give away will become a little bit more, is blurry the word, or clearer? I'm not sure of how that looks. There's no, I think blurry is the right way to put it. Wouldn't you, Lorna? It's like there's no fine line anymore. It's not like,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
right. There's no like, oh no, you have to pay to learn this. It's so
Yeah.
blurred in my world. It's like, okay, whatever. Like I don't have this cutoff line where sometimes we're taught that, like, show them this, but then don't show them the how after that. Don't show them anything like this. And I'm like, whatever. So I don't really have that cutoff. What people pay me for, I believe, is how to connect everything together. And even if, and I don't even hold that back. If somebody asks me now on the show or within a call or on a call or something, like, here's how you do this kind of thing. But there's only so much I can teach that person during those conversations. And what I found is that they figure that out on their own. They're like, holy crap, maybe I should join. And that might take 18 months of a conversation. It might take 18 minutes. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I've discovered. So that line of what's free, what's not is becoming more blurred, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much out there already, and people aren't going to put it together. Like they're not going to piece it all together. I've not. Again, I could be wrong. I've really not done a study, but I really haven't heard anyone that said, "I learned all of this."
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of your like a program. I learned all of this on YouTube. Like I put all the YouTube videos together and I put them all in the right order and I
Mm-hmm.
figured out what really wasn't being said. And and here I am really succeeding. That's not to say that there's not good YouTube videos out there to learn,
Mm-hmm.
but as
Mm-hmm.
far as a whole program, because I mean, and with what you teach, you as the coach and the guide are what make the program.
Hmm.
Like, so you're there to answer questions, you're there to lead people along, and people don't get that piece on YouTube.
Hmm.
But I have used YouTube to unclog my dishwasher and sink twice, and to fix my vacuum. Like, there's certainly things you
Yeah,
can
those are tasks. Like, how do you
accomplish.
do that thing, right?
But when it comes to the inside pieces, and how it relates to me, like the thing with the vacuum is everyone with the vacuum with that problem has that problem. Like, that's their problem. People have the marketing things that they want to learn from something like Atlas, but how to apply it to them and their situation is often a little unique. And that's where the live piece comes in, because people can say, well, what about this for me? How
Yes.
do I take this for me? And you don't get that, because I think I am a firm believer you could get everything you want in life on YouTube.
Hmm.
But do you want to spend your life there? Anyway.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm glad you brought that up because, Colin, I'm going to come back to this in a second. Is yeah, it's like if you have a problem like the dishwasher thingy, it's like it's fixed and it's done. Same thing as when I wanted to fix a squeak on my chair. Like I'm going right to YouTube. Here you go. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, that's cool. How do you do that?
Yeah.
But as a matter of fact, to that point, okay, here's why this free stuff works. I don't know why, but I think this brought it up. So I again went to fix a squeak in my chair, and I end up buying $500 worth of stuff from that company to enhance my chair, right? Because they're so cool. They're like, wow, that was so great. And then they're like other things like, oh, I want that too, because they were gifting me this knowledge of where I could have hired somebody who would have charged me, I don't know, 200-300 bucks to come in and fix the same thing that I did, right? And sure, there's a place for that. But my point is, yeah, when you have this problem, it's one and done. It's over.
Yeah.
Now,
Exactly.
one thing is that so when you're doing marketing or Lissandra, you're like doing poetry, I think it is, you're helping people write and all that. There are neurons or connections that that you can help people connect together that only you are going to know for them specifically, which is what Lorna was just trying to say. So you could literally put your entire program on YouTube, and the people that don't want to pay you will get the information and take it and go, that's great information, but will it really change their life? Probably not, because they haven't applied it and because they don't know how to apply it. But it doesn't mean that your stuff is crap. It was the whole thing. Here's the program, go watch it,
Yeah.
right? And I've been in that situation. I have programs that like, here, it's all free over here, go watch it. And then I'm like, and I look back at it and go, did I really apply that? No, right? and but now, and I look at the people that I'm connected to, and now some other stuff I was absorbing for years and years, and now I'm actually talking to them, and the insight I get from them in a personal level is completely different than me. I love their books, I love the videos and all this stuff, but it's like now I've got this interaction. And it's like, oh, okay, got it. Like they simplified it, or they even
Yeah.
if they said, did you read that, or did you take that model, and what did you do with this? Like, well, this is what I do with it, and they can bring that level of knowledge or insight to the thing that you just learned because it was so valuable to me, but I wasn't applying it. And I think that's the most important thing about what we're talking about here, which is now a whole other discussion beyond what we just started with.
I
But
know.
it's an important one because I look at all the love that this has been a great conversation. What do you agree with that, Lorna?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't have anything to add to that. Like, it's,
Yeah. My video editor, can you just clip that last little piece out because I think that was pretty awesome.
I give the plus one vote to that.
Thank you. Uh, so this reminds me of her grandson, Collie's grandson, asking me why I would not continue to date when I was the celebrity I was. Yes, I know it's not the same as $10 million. Hey, it is. You're worth $10 million.
Yeah.
And buying a car, but I did not resonate with but what it really is. The celebrity's values did not match mine, nor the way I was treated. So yeah, I completely agree with you. It
Absolutely.
has to resonate and match my core values. Right on. That's and funny thing enough, one of the first things I start off with Atlas is that's the first module or the first lesson. What are your core? We do the core values thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy that you said that. I'm calling.
Well, and that's what it came down like when it comes down to the Lamborghini and the money, it is about your values. Like that's totally, totally about values.
Yeah. Thank you, Kay. Thank you for being here, and thank you, Collie. I believe this is Collie. Thank you, thank you. So, thank you, Lorna. Thank you for being here. Amazing show as always with you. I love our back and forth banter and discussions, and um, just really appreciate you. I'm grateful for your knowledge. I'm grateful for your friendship and everything else that you bring to this
Right.
table.
Thank you. Ditto back at you.
Anything you want to say before we sign up for another episode?
Well, just appreciate people who are watching, whether you're live or replay, and love the questions, the discussion. This was awesome. I like it's. I love having people's input and having the questions because it
Yeah,
then we can help with their desire, with what they're
mutually.
looking for. It helps us help them.
And by
So
the way, Robert, if you want to continue this conversation, let's go on a discovery call. 'Cause I'm not just kidding. I'm just go into the group and um, no, man, go into the group. I think you're in part of the group, but I'm going to put it in here anyway. Just and continue the conversation, man. Like we're always there to help, and I think this would be a real big thing for everybody else to interject and help and have that discussion going on. So if you're open to that. And anybody else want to join us, that's where we are. But only if you're heart centered, you got a mission to serve your corner of the world. That's what we're all about there. And hope to see you there. And if not, that's cool. We'll see you hopefully on the next show next Tuesday night for Heart Centered Marketing. Take it easy.